Hey there, you looking kinda cute. Don't forget to subscribe and check out my other socials for more. Enjoy. For years, Berkeley had felt trapped in a body that didn't match who she truly was. The journey to become her authentic self had been long and challenging, filled with moments of doubt, fear, and heartache. But now, as she walked down the sidewalk with her head held high, she felt a sense of freedom she'd never experienced before. Her heels clicked rhythmically against the pavement, each step a small victory. She was still getting used to walking in them, but the discomfort was worth it for how they made her feel. Tall, confident, feminine. As she rounded the corner, she spotted her friend Angela waving enthusiastically from a cafe table. Berkeley's face broke into a wide smile as she quickened her pace. "There's my girl!" Angela exclaimed, standing up to embrace her friend. "You look gorgeous, Berk." Berkeley felt a warmth spread through her chest at the compliment. "Thanks, Ang. I'm still getting used to all of this." They settled into their seats, and Angela leaned forward, her eyes sparkling with excitement. "So tell me everything. How's it been going?" Berkeley took a deep breath, her fingers absently tracing the rim of her coffee cup. "It's been overwhelming, to be honest, but in the best way possible. I finally feel like I'm living, not just existing." Angela reached across the table and squeezed Berkeley's hand. "I'm so proud of you. I can't even imagine how hard this has been." "I couldn't have done it without you," Berkeley replied, her voice thick with emotion. "Your support has meant everything." Their conversation was interrupted by the arrival of their breakfast. As they ate, Berkeley filled Angela in on the ups and downs of her transition, the hormone therapy, the legal name change, the reactions from family and coworkers. "Oh," Angela exclaimed suddenly, nearly choking on her toast. "I almost forgot. I have something for you." She rummaged through her purse and pulled out a business card, sliding it across the table. Berkeley picked it up, her brow furrowing as she read the name. "Gunnar Thorson, photographer?" Angela nodded eagerly. "He's amazing, Berk. He specializes in portrait photography, but he's also known for his work with the trans community. I thought maybe you'd like to do a photo shoot to celebrate your journey." Berkeley's first instinct was to refuse. The idea of being in front of a camera made her stomach churn with anxiety. But as she looked at Angela's hopeful face, she found herself reconsidering. "I don't know, Ang. I'm not exactly model material." Angela rolled her eyes. "Oh, please. You're gorgeous. And it's time you start seeing yourself the way the rest of us do. Just think about it, okay?" Berkeley nodded, tucking the card into her wallet. "I'll think about it." As they finished their meal and said their goodbyes, Berkeley couldn't shake the idea from her mind. A photo shoot, a chance to see herself through someone else's lens. It was terrifying and exhilarating all at once. That evening, after hours of internal debate, Berkeley found herself dialing the number on the card. Her heart raced as the phone rang, and she nearly hung up before a deep, accented voice answered. "Gunnar Thorson speaking." Berkeley took a deep breath. "Hi, my name is Berkeley. My friend Angela gave me your card. I was wondering if you might have time for a photo shoot." There was a pause, and then Gunnar's voice softened. "Ah, yes. Angela mentioned you might be calling. I'd be honored to work with you, Berkeley. Why don't you come by my studio tomorrow afternoon? We can discuss what you're looking for and see if we're a good fit." The next day, Berkeley stood outside a converted warehouse in the Arts District, her palms sweaty as she worked up the courage to knock. Before she could, the door swung open, revealing a tall, broad-shouldered man with a shock of silver hair and kind eyes. "You must be Berkeley," he said, his voice warm and inviting. "Please come in." Gunnar's studio was a vast, open space filled with natural light. Photographs lined the walls, portraits of people of all ages, genders, and backgrounds. Berkeley found herself drawn to a series of black and white images featuring transgender individuals at various stages of their transitions. "These are beautiful," she murmured, her fingers hovering over the frame of a particularly striking portrait. Gunnar came to stand beside her. "Thank you. It's been my life's work to capture the beauty and strength of people like yourself. To show the world the truth of who you are." Berkeley turned to face him, suddenly feeling vulnerable. "And what if I'm not sure who I am yet?" Gunnar's eyes crinkled as he smiled. "Then we'll discover it together. A photograph isn't just about capturing an image, Berkeley. It's about revealing the essence of a person. Sometimes we need someone else's perspective to truly see ourselves." Over the next few hours, Berkeley found herself opening up to Gunnar in a way she hadn't expected. They discussed her journey, her fears, her hopes for the future. By the time they started planning the actual photo shoot, Berkeley felt a sense of ease she hadn't anticipated. "I think," Gunnar said, tapping his chin thoughtfully, "we should do something that celebrates your femininity while also honoring your strength. How do you feel about a makeover?" Berkeley blinked in surprise. "A makeover?" Gunnar nodded enthusiastically. "I have a wonderful stylist I work with. We could do your hair, makeup, maybe even try out some new outfits. What do you think?" The idea was both thrilling and terrifying. Berkeley had been slowly building her wardrobe, learning to do her own makeup, but this felt like a big step. After a moment of hesitation, she nodded. "Okay, let's do it." The day of the photo shoot arrived, and Berkeley found herself in the capable hands of Gunnar's stylist, a vibrant woman named Zoe. As Zoe worked her magic, Berkeley watched her reflection transform. Her hair, usually pulled back in a simple ponytail, was now styled in loose, elegant waves. Her makeup was subtle but enhancing, bringing out the green of her eyes and the curve of her cheekbones. When Zoe finally stepped back, Berkeley hardly recognized herself. She stood up slowly, running her hands down the silky fabric of the emerald green dress they'd chosen. "Oh, honey," Zoe breathed, her eyes misting over. "You're a vision." Gunnar entered the room, his camera in hand, and stopped short when he saw Berkeley. "My dear," he said softly, "you are absolutely radiant." As the photo shoot began, Berkeley's initial nervousness melted away. Gunnar's gentle guidance and encouragement helped her relax, and soon she found herself actually enjoying the experience. They moved through various setups, some playful, some serious, all designed to capture different facets of Berkeley's personality and journey. At one point, Gunnar had her sit at a vanity, applying lipstick in the mirror. As Berkeley gazed at her reflection, she felt a sudden wave of emotion wash over her. This was her. This was who she'd always been, finally able to shine through. A tear slipped down her cheek, and Gunnar's camera clicked rapidly. "Perfect," he murmured. "Absolutely perfect." As the session wound down, Gunnar showed Berkeley some of the shots on his camera's display. She gasped, hardly able to believe the stunning woman in the photos was her. "Berkeley," Gunnar said, his voice serious, "I hope you can see what I see. You are a remarkable woman, full of grace and strength. These photos don't create that. They simply reveal what's already there." Overwhelmed, Berkeley could only nod, wiping away tears of joy and gratitude. In the days that followed, Berkeley found herself walking taller, smiling more. The confidence she'd gained from the photo shoot seemed to permeate every aspect of her life. She even mustered up the courage to speak to her boss about using her new name and pronouns at work, a conversation that went far better than she'd anticipated. When Gunnar called to let her know the photos were ready, Berkeley invited Angela to come with her to view them. As they sat in Gunnar's studio, flipping through the album he'd prepared, both women were moved to tears. "Oh, Berk," Angela whispered, squeezing her friend's hand. "You look incredible." Berkeley could hardly believe the woman in the photos was her. Gunnar had captured not just her physical appearance, but something deeper, her joy, her vulnerability, her strength. It was like seeing herself truly for the first time. As they were preparing to leave, Gunnar cleared his throat. "I have a favor to ask, Berkeley. I'm hosting a small dinner party next week, and I'd be honored if you'd attend. I'd love to introduce you to some of my friends in the community." Berkeley hesitated, her old insecurities bubbling up. But then she looked at the photos again, at the confident woman smiling back at her, and found herself nodding. "I'd love to," she said, surprising herself with her enthusiasm. The night of the dinner party arrived, and Berkeley stood in front of her mirror, smoothing down the front of her dress. She'd chosen a deep purple cocktail dress paired with the strappy heels she'd been practicing walking in. Her hair was swept up in an elegant updo, and she'd carefully applied her makeup, using the techniques Zoe had taught her. As she gave herself a final once-over, Berkeley felt a surge of confidence. She looked good. More importantly, she felt good, comfortable in her own skin in a way she'd never experienced before. The taxi ride to Gunner's loft was a blur of nerves and excitement. As she ascended in the elevator, Berkeley took deep, calming breaths. She could do this. She deserved to be here, to be seen and celebrated. The doors opened, and Berkeley stepped out into a warmly lit hallway. She could hear the soft murmur of conversation and laughter coming from behind a door at the end of the hall. Taking one last deep breath, she straightened her shoulders and walked forward. Gunner answered her knock, his face lighting up when he saw her. "Berkeley, you look absolutely stunning. Please come in." As she entered the loft, Berkeley was struck by the warm, inviting atmosphere. The space was filled with an eclectic mix of artwork and photography, soft jazz playing in the background. A small group of people were gathered in the living area, their conversation pausing as Gunner led Berkeley over. "Everyone, I'd like you to meet Berkeley," Gunner announced, his hand resting lightly on her shoulder. "Berkeley, allow me to introduce you to some dear friends." One by one, Gunner introduced her to the group. There was Maria, a transgender advocate and public speaker. Dylan, a gender nonconforming artist whose work adorned several of Gunner's walls. Eliza, a therapist who specialized in working with the LGBTQ community, and several others, each with their own unique story and perspective. As the evening progressed, Berkeley found herself drawn into fascinating conversations. She listened in awe as Maria shared stories from her advocacy work, feeling inspired by the older woman's strength and determination. Dylan showed her some of their latest artwork, explaining the symbolism behind each piece. At one point, Berkeley found herself in a quiet corner with Eliza, the therapist. "How are you feeling?" Eliza asked gently. "I know gatherings like this can be overwhelming, especially when you're still early in your journey." Berkeley considered the question, surprised to realize that she felt good, comfortable. "I'm actually really enjoying myself," she admitted. "Everyone's been so welcoming. It's nice to be in a space where I don't have to explain or justify my existence." Eliza smiled warmly. "That's wonderful to hear. Remember, Berkeley, you have every right to take up space in this world. Your journey is valid, and you deserve to be celebrated." As the night wore on, Berkeley found herself relaxing more and more. She laughed at Dylan's dry wit, engaged in a spirited debate about politics with Maria, and even shared some of her own experiences when the conversation turned to the challenges of transitioning. Near the end of the evening, Gunner clinked his glass to get everyone's attention. "I'd like to propose a toast," he said, his eyes twinkling, "to new friends, to authenticity, and to the beautiful journey of becoming ourselves." As glasses clinked and cheers echoed through the loft, Berkeley felt a lump form in her throat. She looked around at these people, strangers just hours ago, now feeling like kindred spirits, and felt an overwhelming sense of belonging. Later, as she was preparing to leave, Gunner pulled her aside. "I have something for you," he said, handing her a small, wrapped package. Berkeley opened it carefully, gasping when she saw what was inside. It was a framed print of one of the photos from their shoot, the one where she'd been caught in a moment of vulnerable joy, a tear sliding down her cheek as she looked at herself in the mirror. "To remind you of your strength and beauty," Gunner said softly, "and to celebrate how far you've come." Berkeley hugged the frame to her chest, her eyes welling up with tears. Thank you, she whispered, for everything. As she made her way home that night, Berkeley felt as though something fundamental had shifted within her. The fear and uncertainty that had plagued her for so long seemed to have loosened their grip. In their place was a growing sense of confidence, of rightness in her own skin. She thought about the people she'd met that night, each on their own journey of self-discovery and authenticity. They'd welcomed her without hesitation, offering support, understanding, and friendship. For the first time, Berkeley truly felt part of a community. Arriving home, she carefully placed the framed photo on her bedside table. As she got ready for bed, she caught glimpses of herself in the mirror, her makeup slightly smudged from the long evening, her hair coming loose from its updo. But instead of the usual critical voice in her head, she heard echoes of the kind words and encouragement she'd received throughout the night. Berkeley crawled into bed, her mind replaying the events of the evening. She thought about how far she'd come, from the scared, confused person she'd been just a year ago to the woman she was becoming. There was still a long road ahead, she knew. There would be challenges and setbacks, moments of doubt and fear. But as she drifted off to sleep, Berkeley felt a sense of peace settle over her. She was on the right path, becoming more herself with each passing day. And she wasn't alone on this journey. She had friends, old and new, who saw her for who she truly was and celebrated her authenticity. In the soft glow of the bedside lamp, the photo Gunnar had given her seemed to shimmer. It was a snapshot of a moment, but it represented so much more. It was a promise, a reminder, a celebration of the beautiful, complex, courageous woman Berkeley was becoming. As sleep claimed her, Berkeley's lips curved into a soft smile. Tomorrow was a new day, another step on her journey, and for the first time in a long time, she couldn't wait to see what it would bring. The weeks that followed Gunnar's dinner party were a whirlwind of activity and emotion for Berkeley. She found herself reaching out more, connecting with the people she'd met that night and slowly building a network of support and friendship within the community. One sunny afternoon, Berkeley met Maria for coffee. The older woman had become something of a mentor to her, offering guidance and support as Berkeley navigated the complexities of her new life. "How are you doing, sweetie?" Maria asked, stirring sugar into her latte. "You're looking more radiant every time I see you." Berkeley felt a blush creep up her cheeks. "I'm doing well, actually. Better than I ever thought possible." She paused, considering her next words carefully. "I've been thinking about what you said, about using my voice to help others." Maria's eyes lit up. "Oh, have you made a decision?" Berkeley nodded, a mixture of excitement and nervousness bubbling in her chest. "I want to do it. I want to speak at the community center, share my story. If it could help even one person feel less alone, it would be worth it." Maria reached across the table, squeezing Berkeley's hand. "I'm so proud of you, honey. Your story is powerful, and I know it will resonate with so many people." As they continued to chat, making plans for Berkeley's speaking engagement, she felt a sense of purpose settling over her. This was another step in her journey, another way to embrace her true self and make a difference in the world. The day of her speech arrived all too quickly. Berkeley stood backstage at the community center, her hands shaking as she reviewed her notes one last time. She'd chosen to wear the emerald green dress from her photo shoot with Gunnar, wanting to feel as confident and beautiful as she had that day. "You've got this," Angela whispered, giving her a quick hug before taking her seat in the audience. As Berkeley stepped out onto the small stage, the buzz of conversation in the room quieted. She looked out at the sea of faces, some familiar, many unknown, and took a deep breath. "Hello," she began, her voice wavering slightly before steadying. "My name is Berkeley, and this is my story." For the next hour, Berkeley shared her journey. She spoke of the confusion and pain of living in a body that didn't feel like her own, of the fear and doubt that had plagued her for years. She talked about the moment she finally accepted her truth and the challenging but rewarding process of transitioning. As she spoke, Berkeley could see her words impacting the audience. There were nods of understanding, tears of empathy, and moments of laughter as she recounted some of the more awkward moments of her journey. "It hasn't been easy," she said, nearing the end of her speech. "There have been days when I wanted to give up, when the fear and doubt seemed overwhelming. But I'm standing here today to tell you that it gets better, that you are worthy of love and acceptance exactly as you are, that the journey to becoming your true self, while challenging, is the most rewarding thing you'll ever do." As she finished speaking, the room erupted in applause. Berkeley felt tears prick her eyes as she looked out at the audience, seeing the impact her words had made. People were standing, cheering, some wiping away tears of their own. After the speech, as people mingled and chatted, Berkeley found herself surrounded by well-wishers. People thanked her for her honesty, shared their own stories, or simply offered words of encouragement. One young person, their eyes shining with unshed tears, approached Berkeley hesitantly. "Thank you," they said softly. "I've been so scared to come out, to start my transition, but hearing your story, it gives me hope." Berkeley felt her heart swell with emotion. She pulled the young person into a gentle hug. "You are so brave," she whispered, "and you are not alone. Remember that." Thanks for watching. Don't forget to check out my other socials if you want more wonderful content, early access, behind the scenes, and more. All links down below.